The night was heavy with smoke, the ground was broken and black, burned by weapons that had fired only hours ago. Once, this place was a human colony, filled with light and voices. Now it was silent, too silent. The air was cold, but the silence was colder. No sound of birds, no sound of engines, only the slow crack of metal cooling in the ruins. And in that silence, a single human soldier opened his eyes. His name was not yet important. What mattered was that he was alive when no one else was moving. His helmet was cracked, his armor burned, his hands covered with ash. He sat up slowly, chest aching, blood in his mouth. Around him, the battlefield stretched like a graveyard. Bodies of humans and aliens lay together. Machines were broken, flames were dying. The soldier did not understand why he was still breathing. He should have been dead like the others. He touched his side and felt pain. A sharp wound cut across his ribs, not deep enough to kill him, but enough to remind him that death was close. He pushed himself to stand, each breath a battle of its own. The silence made him uneasy. Soldiers hated silence after war, because silence meant something was waiting, and something was waiting. He heard it first as a low rumble, like stone sliding on stone. His heart jumped. His hand went to his rifle. He raised it, shaking, pointing into the smoke. From the broken wall, something moved. A shadow, huge and heavy. The soldier's finger almost pulled the trigger. Then the shadow stepped forward, an alien giant, 8 feet tall, skin dark blue under broken armor. Its eyes glowed faintly in the smoke. One hand held a weapon too large for any human. The other arm was bleeding, hanging low. The soldier froze. This was the enemy. The reason so many of his brothers had died. The order was clear. Never let one live. Never trust it. But the alien did not attack. It stood still, breathing hard. It was wounded too, its legs shaking, its chest marked with burns. For a long moment, the two only stared at each other. The soldier's mind screamed, "Shoot it, finish it now." But something stopped him. If the alien wanted him dead, it would have charged already. Instead, it leaned against the wall, trying not to fall. The soldier lowered his weapon only a little. His eyes never left the giant. He could not understand it. Why was the enemy alive here with him and not killing him? He tried to step back, but the ground under him gave way. The ruins cracked. Both human and alien dropped into the darkness. Below, dust rose, rocks crashed, and the world turned black again. When the soldier woke, time had passed. He was in a broken underground hall, once part of the colony's structure. Above him, rubble blocked the way out. No light from the sky came down, only the flicker of fires. And there, only meters away, the alien giant moved, still alive, still breathing. The soldier reached for his weapon, but it was gone, lost in the fall. The alien's weapon was broken too, trapped under rocks. Now they were both unarmed, both hurt, both trapped. The soldier's heart raced. This was worse than facing the alien army. Now it was only one soldier and one giant, alone in the ruins, and silence again. A silence so deep it pressed against his ears. The alien watched him with strange calm. It did not rush. It did not roar. Its breathing was heavy, like thunder rolling in its chest. The soldier felt small under that gaze, like a child staring at a storm. He thought of his orders again. He thought of his commander's voice. Never trust them. Never give them a chance. And yet, here in the darkness with death around them, he felt something different. Not just fear, but curiosity. Why had the alien not killed him on the battlefield? Why was it not killing him now? The silence stretched. Both sides waiting, both sides breathing, and both sides knowing one truth. If they could not escape, they would die here together. The soldier's hands shook, his throat dry. He did not lower his guard. But deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. The real battle had not started yet. It was not a battle of weapons. It was a battle of trust. And the first move had not yet been played. The soldier sat in the darkness, his back against cold stone. Every breath hurt, every movement made his ribs scream. Across the hall, the alien giant also sat, its body like a mountain in shadow. Both were alive. Both were trapped, and neither trusted the other. The soldier's eyes never left the alien. He thought of every story he had heard about them, stories of brutality, of slaughter, of humans crushed under their fists. He had seen his friends die on the surface above. He had seen burning metal and broken armor, and now, only one of these creatures sat breathing just meters from him. His fingers searched the ground for his rifle, but the weapon was gone, lost. In the fall, a soldier without his rifle was a man without teeth. He felt naked, weak, almost powerless. The alien shifted. Its shoulders rose and fell like giant waves. It made a sound low and deep, not a growl. Not yet, but close. The soldier's heart pounded. His training screamed inside him. If it moves, strike first. But how could he strike an enemy that towered over him like a living wall? The silence between them grew heavier. Every small sound was loud. The drip of water from broken pipes, the creak of metal cooling in the rubble. Even the soldier's breathing felt too loud, like it might provoke the beast. The alien's eyes glowed faintly, like embers in the dark, and then it moved. One arm slowly. The soldier's chest froze. Was this the end? But instead of striking, the alien pressed its own wound. Dark blood leaked through its armor. Thick and heavy, it was bleeding, just like him. The soldier stared, confused. He had never thought of them as creatures that bled. In his mind, they were unstoppable monsters. But now this giant looked tired, broken, almost human in its suffering. Still, fear clung to him. Fear that at any moment the alien would rise. Fear that it was only waiting for him to close his eyes. The soldier fought to stay awake. Even as exhaustion dragged at his bones, he remembered his commander's voice again, sharp and strong, echoing. In memory, show mercy to your brothers, never to the enemy. Those words had guided him in every battle, but now, in this pit of ruin, the words felt like a cage, because part of him wondered, what if mercy was the only way to live? The alien suddenly coughed, a sound so loud the stone seemed to vibrate. It leaned forward, its massive hands pressing against the ground. The soldier flinched, ready to throw himself aside. But the giant did not attack. Instead, it pulled its weight back and let out a slow breath. Its chest rose and fell like thunder. It was not preparing for battle. It was fighting to stay alive. Fear and curiosity battled inside the soldier's mind. He hated that he felt both. He hated that he could see weakness in the enemy, because weakness made the creature feel real. And reality was harder to hate than the story. Minutes dragged like hours. Neither moved closer. Neither trusted enough to break the distance, and yet every heartbeat tied them together. Two survivors in a graveyard of war. The soldier thought of escape if he could climb the broken wall. Maybe he could reach the surface, but the rubble was heavy, the ceiling cracked. One man could not move it alone. He looked at the alien and knew the truth. Together, they might stand a chance. Alone, both would rot in the dark. But to ask for help meant trusting the enemy, and that thought was worse than death. The alien shifted again, its gaze fixed on the soldier, sharp and unblinking. It raised one massive hand and pointed not at him, but at the rubble above. The message was clear, even without words. It wanted out too. The soldier's stomach twisted. He could almost hear his commander's voice. No deals with monsters. Number bonds with beasts. But here, in the cold silence, those words felt thin. Because the soldier realized something terrifying. The only way to survive this ruin might be to stand with the very thing he feared most. The first fear was not of death. It was of choice. A choice no soldier wanted. Trust the enemy or die alone. And as the darkness pressed closer, the soldier understood. This was not just survival. This was the beginning of something larger. Something dangerous. Something that would change everything. The soldier sat in the ruins, his back stiff, his eyes locked on the alien giant. The air was heavy, filled with dust and the faint smell of blood. Time moved strangely down there. Every minute felt like an hour. Neither human nor alien spoke, but silence itself became a kind of voice. The soldier's wound ached, and his throat was dry. He searched the broken hall for something, anything. At last he found a cracked pipe in the corner. Leaking drops of water, not clean, not safe, but in war, soldiers had drunk worse. He cupped his hand and swallowed, the water burning like fire down his throat. When he turned back, the alien was watching, its glowing eyes fixed on him, unblinking. The soldier felt his heart jump, but then he noticed the alien's lips were dry. Its chest rose and fell with effort. Each breath like a storm. The soldier hesitated. He told himself not to care, not to see it as anything but the enemy. But something inside him shifted, slowly, with shaking hands. He tilted the pipe toward the alien. Drops splashed onto the ground, spreading dark circles in the dust. The giant did not move at first. Then, with surprising slowness, it leaned forward, its massive hand cupped beneath the stream. The soldier tensed, ready to run, but the alien only drank. Water slid down its chin and dripped onto its chest. It closed its eyes for a brief second, like a man who had not tasted life in days. The soldier stared. Caught between fear and disbelief, the alien was grateful, not with words, but with the smallest nod. A gesture so strange, so unexpected. It made the soldier's chest tighten. No language was spoken, yet something passed between them, a silent understanding that in this place they were not enemies first. They were survivors. The soldier sat back, unsure of what he had just done. Had he betrayed his orders? Had he betrayed his fallen brothers? Or had he taken the first step toward something none of them would ever understand? The alien adjusted its position. Leaning on the wall, it winced. At the pain in its side, the soldier could see the wound, deep and ugly. Without help, the alien would bleed out, and yet it still sat strong, as if refusing to die. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. The soldier tried to rest, but his eyes refused to close. He kept watching, and the alien kept watching him. Neither moved closer, neither moved away, and in that stillness, a strange rhythm formed, like two hearts beating in the same broken cage. At one point, a sound echoed from above. The soldier froze. The alien tilted its head, listening too. It was not the sound of rescue. It was the sound of movement, slow, scratching, hungry, scavenger beasts roaming the ruins. Drawn by the smell of blood, the soldier's fear rose again. He had heard of these creatures. They fed on corpses, but if they found the living, they tore them apart. He looked at the alien. The alien looked back at him. No words were needed. They both knew if the beasts came, they would have to fight together or die. The soldier gripped a shard of broken metal. It was not a rifle, not even a knife, but it was something. The alien clenched its fist, blood dripping from its wound. Even injured, its size alone was a weapon. They sat in silence, waiting, listening to the scratching grow louder. In that moment, the line between human and alien blurred. Two warriors trapped in the dark, preparing for death side by side. But the beasts never entered. The sound faded. Into the distance, both the soldier and the alien let out breaths they had been holding too long. The soldier wiped sweat from his forehead. His hand shook, but not only from fear. Something had changed inside him. The alien had not attacked, had not taken advantage of his weakness. It had shared the water. It had listened for danger. It had survived beside him, and that was enough to plant a seed. A dangerous seed of thought. Maybe not every alien was the monster he had been told. He looked again at the giant. It was resting now, its eyes half closed. The soldier did not lower his guard, not fully, but his fear was no longer the same. It was not the fear of being killed. It was the fear of what this bond might mean. Silence stretched once more, but this time it felt different. Not empty, not heavy, but alive, like a rope tied between them, unseen but unbroken. The soldier leaned back against the wall. His body begged for sleep, his mind refused. He whispered into the dark, though he knew the alien might not understand. "We are both still here." The alien did not reply with words, but its head tilted the smallest bit, and in that small motion, the soldier felt an answer. Yes, we are still here. In that moment, no one was human. No one was alien. There were only two survivors, bound not by choice, not yet by trust, but by silence, and by the simple fact that both of them wanted to live. It was a silent understanding, and sometimes, silence was stronger than words. Asterisk. The soldier's eyes snapped open to the sound of stone shifting. At first he thought it was the alien moving, but when he looked across the ruins, the giant was still, its glowing eyes half open, its breathing slow. No, this sound came from beyond the broken walls. He held his breath and listened. Scratch, scrape, a low hiss. It echoed through the dark halls like nails dragging across metal. The soldier's heart began to pound. He had heard this sound before, in stories whispered by other soldiers, scavengers, the carrion beasts that roamed battlefields after the fight. They smelled death, and where there was no death, they made it. The alien giant turned its head, its ears sharper than human ones. It too had heard the sound. For the first time, its gaze did not hold cold suspicion. Instead, it carried a warning. The soldier understood without a single word. The beasts were coming. The soldier picked up the broken shard of metal he had kept near. It was dull, heavy, and almost useless against something with claws. But it was all he had. His pulse raced. He thought about hiding, thought about running deeper into the ruins. But there was nowhere to go. The ceiling was blocked. The halls were narrow. They were trapped, and the beasts were closing in. The alien shifted its weight. With a deep grunt, it tried to stand. Its wound slowed it, but still it rose, towering, massive, unarmed. Yet its presence alone filled the space with strength. The soldier felt smaller than ever, but for the first time, he was glad the giant was there. The sounds grew louder, clicking claws on stone, the sharp sniff of hunting noses. Shadows moved in the cracks, yellow eyes glimmered in the dark. The scavengers had arrived. The first one crawled through the rubble, its body twisted, thin, skin stretched over bones, its mouth wide, filled with teeth too long for its head. It hissed and snapped at the air. Another followed, then another, a pack, hungry and restless. Soldier froze, his hands tight on the shard. There were too many. He had fought armies, faced alien soldiers in armor, but these were worse. These were predators with no fear, no hesitation, only hunger. The alien giant stepped forward. It let out a sound low in its chest. Not words, but a growl of defiance. The scavengers paused, their heads tilting. Even they seemed to think twice about attacking something so large. But hunger is stronger than fear. The first beast leapt. Claws outstretched, the soldier braced. Before it could reach him, the alien's massive hand swung. With one strike it hit the beast against the wall. Bones cracked, the creature shrieked, and collapsed. Another beast lunged, this time at the soldier. He swung the shard wildly. It cut across the beast's face, shallow but enough to slow it. The alien moved again, kicking it back into the dark. The hall shook with the sound of their struggle. The soldier's arms ached, but adrenaline kept him moving. Every swing, every strike was survival. For the first time they fought together, human and alien, side by side. The soldier's small blade, the alien's raw power, two rhythms joined into one. The beast screeched and hissed, but the two warriors stood, breathing hard, holding ground. At last the pack broke. The scavengers pulled back, dragging their wounded. Their yellow eyes blinked from the shadows, but they did not attack again. The smell of blood filled the hall. The soldier's hands shook. The alien's chest heaved. But both were still alive. Silence returned, though now it was broken by heavy breathing. The soldier collapsed against the wall, sweat dripping down his face. His shard of metal slipped from his hand. He had survived, but only because of the alien. If the giant had not been there, the beasts would have torn him apart. The alien looked at him. It did not speak, but slowly, carefully, it lowered one massive hand. Not to strike, not to threaten, but open, palm forward, a gesture, an offer. The soldier stared. Fear rose again, but it was not the same fear. This was not fear of death, it was fear of choice. To take that hand meant to break every order he had ever followed, but it also meant survival. It meant something more than survival. Slowly, with hesitation, the soldier reached out. His hand looked like nothing against the alien's palm, small, fragile, human, and yet, when their hands touched, something powerful moved between them. Not words, not sound, but bond. The soldier felt it in his chest. The alien felt it too. Two enemies, tied together by battle, by blood, by silence, and now by trust. The scavengers were gone, but danger still waited outside. Yet in that moment, the soldier knew. He was no longer trapped with an enemy. He was standing beside an ally, and that was the most dangerous truth of all. The hall was quiet again, but the quiet was not the same as before. Before, silence had been heavy with mistrust. Now, silence was filled with something else. Something strange, something fragile. The soldier still felt the warmth of the alien's massive hand in his own. It had lasted only a second, but it lingered inside him, like fire that would not die. He pulled his hand back quickly, afraid of what he had just agreed to without words. But the alien did not push further. It simply sat, leaning against the broken wall, breathing deep, like a mountain that refused to fall. The scavenger beasts were gone. Their hiss still echoed in the soldier's memory. He knew they could return. He knew other dangers waited in the ruins. But a thought had taken root in his mind. For the first time since the war began, he was alive because of an alien. The soldier's chest ached with conflict. How could this be? He had been taught that aliens were monsters. But monsters did not share water. Monsters did not stand beside you when death had claws. Monsters did not save your life. The alien shifted and winced in pain. Its wound was bleeding more now, dark blood pooling at its side. The soldier hesitated. He wanted to turn away, to remind himself it was the enemy, but instead, he tore a strip of cloth from his uniform. With slow, careful steps he moved closer. The alien tensed, its eyes narrowing. The soldier lifted the cloth, not as a weapon, but as a bandage. His voice broke the silence, low and rough. "Hold still." The alien studied him, its glowing eyes unreadable. Then, slowly, it allowed him. The soldier pressed the cloth to the wound, tying it as best as he could. The giant grunted, the sound deep enough to shake the floor. But it did not push him away. Instead, it endured. And when the soldier finished, the alien gave a single nod, small, but powerful. Acknowledgement, respect. The soldier sat back, his heart pounding. He had just done the unthinkable. He had helped the enemy, and yet, it felt less like betrayal, more like duty. Not duty to orders, but duty to survival, duty to something greater than war. Time passed, though the soldier could not measure how much. The two of them shared the ruin like uneasy brothers. At times the alien closed its eyes, resting. At times the soldier leaned against the wall, drifting in and out of shallow sleep. But every time he opened his eyes, the alien was still there. Not gone, not attacking, still there. When hunger gnawed at the soldier's stomach, he searched the rubble and found a crushed ration pack. Half burned, almost ruined, but not useless. He ate slowly, the taste bitter. Then, after a long pause, he broke the pack in half and pushed the other piece toward the alien. The giant stared at it. It was too small for its massive hand. Like feeding a wolf with crumbs, but still, it accepted. It ate, slowly, carefully, as if the act itself was more important than the food. For the first time, the soldier saw the alien differently. Not as a monster, not as an enemy, but as a warrior. A being with pride, hunger, pain. A being not so different from himself. The bond was still fragile, a thread stretched between two worlds. But with every shared drop of water, Every shared breath, that thread grew stronger. Then came the next test, a rumble above, stone shifting again. The ceiling cracked, dust rained down. The soldier shielded his face as rocks tumbled. The alien moved fast, faster than he thought possible for its size. Its arm swept across, pulling the soldier against its chest, shielding him from the falling debris. Stone slammed against the alien's back. It grunted in pain but held firm. When the rumble ended, the soldier opened his eyes. He was still alive. Alive because the alien had protected him. The soldier pulled away, stunned. He looked up at the giant, and for the first time in his life, he felt not fear, but trust. Raw, reluctant, undeniable trust. He whispered, voice barely a breath. Why? The alien did not answer with words, but its eyes, glowing steady in the dark, held an answer the soldier could not deny. Because we survived together. The soldier leaned back, his body shaking from more than exhaustion. Something impossible was happening here, something his commanders would never believe. Something his people would call betrayal, but deep inside, the soldier knew the truth. He had found not just an ally, but something far more dangerous, a bond, and bonds, once made in war, could never be broken. The ruins were quiet again. The soldier sat with his back against the wall, staring at the giant across from him. Hours had passed since the last rumble of stone, and yet neither of them had left, neither could leave. They were bound by the darkness, bound by survival. The soldier's thoughts refused to rest. He remembered his training, his commander's words. Every lesson said this bond was wrong, but every moment told him it was real. He had shared water with the alien. He had wrapped its wounds, and the alien had shielded him from falling stone. That was not an enemy's act. That was something else. The soldier studied the alien carefully. He had never been this close to one for so long. He saw the scars along its skin, old battles carved into its body like history. He saw the weariness in its eyes, the same weariness he felt inside himself. Finally, the silence broke. A deep voice rumbled, harsh but clear, not human, but shaped into human words. Human. The soldier froze. The alien had spoken. Its voice was heavy, each word like stone being lifted. The soldier's mouth went dry. You can speak, he whispered. The alien tilted its head. Speak. Little, it answered. Its accent was broken, but its meaning was sharp. The soldier's heart raced. For years they had been told aliens were beasts, mindless brutes, but here one was speaking his tongue, even if only in pieces. The soldier leaned forward. What do you want? He asked, his voice careful. The alien's chest rose and fell. Not war, it said. The soldier blinked, unsure if he had heard right. The alien repeated, slower, firmer. Not war. The words cut deep. The soldier remembered the flames above, the screams, the orders to kill without mercy. He remembered his friends dying under alien fire. And now this giant said it did not want war. His voice cracked with anger and confusion. Then why fight us? Why kill so many? Why burn our worlds? The alien lowered its head. Its glowing eyes dimmed with something heavy. Not choice, it said. Commanders. Make war. We fight, same as you. The soldier's chest tightened. He felt as if the ground had shifted under him. He had always believed the enemy fought because they hated humans, but now here in the ruins, he saw a different truth. This giant was a soldier too, a soldier, bound by orders just like him. The soldier whispered, almost to himself, all this death for nothing. The alien silence was answer enough. For a long time, neither spoke. But something had changed. The wall between them had cracked, not fully broken, but cracked enough for light to pass through. The soldier wanted to ask more, but fear held him. If he learned too much, if he understood too much, would he still be able to fight when the time came? Would he still be able to pull the trigger? The alien shifted, its voice deep again. You. Different, it said. The soldier frowned. Different how? The alien tapped its chest. Others. Kill. No thank you. Give water, you. Save. The soldier shook his head. I only did what anyone would do. But even as he spoke, he knew it was not true. Not everyone would have offered water to the enemy. Not everyone would have tied its wounds. He had done it, and because of that, something new had begun. The bond was no longer silent. Now it had words, broken and heavy. But words nonetheless. The soldier looked at the giant again, and he saw not just an alien. He saw a mirror. A warrior trapped by duty. A fighter caught in a war neither had chosen. The soldier's mind burned with questions. Could this war end if more humans and aliens spoke like this? Could there be peace, or was peace only a dream that died with the dead? The alien leaned back, resting, but before it closed its eyes, it said one more word. Bond. The soldier felt the word like a weight in his chest. A bond, not of friendship, not yet of trust, but of survival, of understanding, and perhaps of destiny. The soldier looked up at the cracked ceiling. He thought of his people above. He thought of his commander, his orders, his duty. And he thought of the giant only a few steps away. The secret they now shared was dangerous. If either side discovered it, both would be killed. But the secret was alive, and no matter how much he tried to deny it, the bond was growing. In the ruins, two enemies sat, but in truth, two survivors. Sat, two soldiers who had learned the same secret, that sometimes the greatest enemy is not each other, it is the war itself. The soldier did not know how much time had passed. The ruins swallowed all sense of hours and days, but his body told him it had been too long. His stomach growled, his throat burned, and his wounds throbbed with every breath. The alien giant was no better. Its chest rose and fell with effort, and blood still seeped slowly from its side. Yet both still lived, together. The silence between them had changed again. It was no longer heavy, no longer strange. It was almost natural. They did not need to speak often. The bond was already there, unspoken but strong. Then at last, a sound shattered the stillness, a sound that froze the soldier's heart. Distant voices, human voices, and the faint static of radios. The soldier's people had come rescue. He rose quickly, weak but desperate. He shouted, his voice echoing through the broken hall. Here, I'm down here. From above, beams of light pierced the cracks. Hands moved the rubble. The soldier felt hope rush into him like fresh air. But then his eyes turned to the alien. The giant stood in the shadows, silent, its glowing eyes fixed on him. It knew what this meant. If the humans came and found it here, there would be no mercy, not after the war, not after so much blood. The soldier's breath caught. He looked back and forth between the light above and the giant beside him. His orders were clear, his duty was clear, and yet his heart felt torn. In two, the rubble shifted more. A gap opened wide enough for human faces to appear. A commander's voice rang out, sharp and commanding. Soldier, step away from it. The soldier froze. The commander's eyes had found the alien. Guns were raised, metal clicked. The air filled with the cold silence before death. The alien did not move. It stood tall, blood running down its side, but its body was steady. It looked at the soldier, not pleading, not begging, just waiting, accepting whatever choice would come. The soldier's mind raced. If he obeyed, the alien would die. If he disobeyed, he would be branded a traitor. Either way, there was no turning back. Memories flooded his head. The water they had shared, the wound he had tied, the beasts they had fought together, the rubble that had fallen, the alien's arm shielding him from death, the words spoken in a voice heavy as stone. Bond. His hand shook. His rifle was still gone, but he picked up the shard of metal again. It was not much, but it was enough to point, enough to choose. The commander shouted again, "Step away, soldier. That's an order." The soldier's heart pounded in his ears. His mouth was dry. He looked at the alien one last time. The giant's eyes glowed steady, calm, unbroken, trusting him, slowly. The soldier turned. He lifted the shard, but not toward the alien. Toward his own people. Toward the soldiers above with guns aimed down. Gasps filled the silence. "Soldier, what are you doing?" the commander barked. But the soldier's voice was strong now. "Stand down," he said. "This one is not the enemy." The world seemed to stop. Every gun was still, every breath caught. The soldier felt his legs shaking, but he did not lower the shard. Behind him, the alien stood tall. Not threatening, not moving, just standing at his side. For the first time since the war began, the soldier had chosen not to obey, not to kill, but to protect. The commander's face twisted with anger. "You've lost your mind, soldier. You think you can bond with that monster. It will kill you the moment you turn your back." The soldier shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "It saved me when it could have killed me. It fought beside me when the beasts came. It kept me alive when no one else was here. It is not a monster, it is a warrior, just like us." The silence stretched. Every soldier above waited for the order to fire. Every second felt like a blade on the edge of breaking. The soldier's chest burned with fear, but also with something else, courage. For once, he was not afraid of death. He was afraid of losing the bond. Afraid of losing the truth he had discovered in the dark. At last, the commander's voice came again, low and sharp. "You'll regret this." The guns did not lower, but they did not fire either. The moment hung in the air, fragile and dangerous. The soldier's choice was made. He would stand with the alien, even if it meant standing against his own people. And so the ruins held their breath. One human soldier, one alien giant, bound not by orders, not by war, but by something far stronger. A bond born in fire, blood, and silence. A bond that could change everything. The soldier's last thought as the light poured down on them was simple. This was not the end. This was only the beginning.